I have not tested a drugstore foundation in a hot minute, but when I saw this new Maybelline Super Stay 24-hour skin tint come out, it was kind of going viral. I was so interested in trying this out because when people were trying it on, it wasn't like a super sheer skin tint. It did have some coverage to it, and I love a thin foundation formula. So this definitely piqued my interest. It might be the best serum foundation at the drugstore. We're gonna try it out. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So as I said, it does claim to be a 24-hour skin tint, which is a very long wear claim. This also has a vitamin C derivative in it. It also claims to have buildable skin-like coverage, a weightless feel, a natural radiant finish. It resists sweat, water, and transfer up to 24 hours. So it does claim to resist sweat and all that stuff. It's super hot today. I'm also gonna work out, so we're really gonna put this thing to the test. I have been wearing this the past couple days as well, so I get a full sort of feel for it, because sometimes first impressions just aren't that helpful. By the way, I did get the shade, I believe this one is 110, which is fair with warm undertones. It matches me pretty well. So the packaging is pretty simple. It's just a classic dropper. This is getting pretty messy, but I guess because it's so thin, there's not really like some other packaging that might work better. So I'm gonna put a little bit onto my hand. So it is super runny. Let me put my hair back first, actually. So since my testing, my favorite way to apply this is definitely with a sponge. What I've been doing is dotting a little bit on my face like this. I've also applied this with my fingers, and it works well because it's so thin. The one thing I will say is this can be very finicky depending on what kind of products you pair with it. I found that it looked a little bit heavy with some sunscreens. It also pilled with some other moisturizers. So I would just really make sure you're probably using a water-based, just other skincare products with this, because it's so thin and watery. Look a little bit crazy right now, but I'm just using a clean sponge. This is a Haley's Beauty one. And now I'm going to press this in. So the reason I actually haven't tried a drugstore foundation in a really long time is because I have an allergy to a chemical sunscreen, which is in a lot of drugstore foundations. I just wish they just keep the sunscreen out of foundations. Honestly, I'll just use one on my own. That would be great. And then I also figured out I have an allergy to a preservative, which was in the RMS sunscreen. It was in the Ilia sunscreen. It was also in the Milk Hydro Grip Primer. So I finally figured that one out. And a lot of drugstore foundations have either one of those too. But I looked at this ingredient list and it didn't have any of those, which was great. And I was really excited that I get to find possibly a really good drugstore option. So as you can see, with just that relatively light layer, it does actually give, like, I would say it's like the full end of light coverage. It's sort of leaning into medium, which I love, because usually I don't get skin tints because they're just too sheer for me. Like, I like having a little bit more coverage. And also, I'm not sure if you can tell on the skin, but this does have a slight pearlescence in it, but it's not glittery or like chunky. You can't actually see the particles, but it has a glowy finish in a way that's not oily. It's just because it has that shimmer in it that it just looks really pretty and healthy on the skin. And the finish is actually relatively like satin skin-like. I just really love the finish and the texture of this. It feels really very lightweight. I don't know why I said really very. It feels super lightweight, and it's definitely a really good like summer option. I will describe how it wears, of course, and we'll really put it to the test with sweat and everything today. But I definitely like it with the sponge. I don't feel like it absorbs too much of it. And in terms of layering, you can layer it for sure. I would be careful in like the areas where you get more textured, because it can just look a little bit cakey. I like to just stick with a thin layer of this. Also, if you have textured skin or very oily skin, the sort of like iridescent finish of this may not be the best for you, because it can enhance texture because it has that glow to it. So totally up to you. I think it looks really pretty. It's super lightweight. I also wore this to the beach, so I've really been like testing lots of different scenarios. So I've actually only been testing this with setting it down with a powder. So today I'm gonna do half no set and half set, because I have had some sort of like wear problems, but I think that it might be the powder that I was using, so I really want to try it today. Half of my face with no powder. I'm just using my Pixie corrector, by the way, before we go into concealer. I want to stick to a super thin concealer, so I'm going to use my Thrive Causemetics one. This is the Buildable Blur. and doing a little bit so it doesn't like interfere with the foundation. I also just got these Naturium Phyto-Glow lip balms in PR, which I heard were so good and I've never tried them. I have 4 shades. So I will do a little swatch party at the end of the video, so make sure you stay tuned if you want to see those shades. Apparently those are some of the best tinted lip balms that you could get at Target. Just popping on a little bit more concealer and using my finger to get some more coverage out of it. So like I was saying before, because this is so thin and water-based, I would definitely avoid anything like silicone based, like silicone primers or any other like foundations. I mean any other like moisturizers or sunscreens that are like heavily silicone. Literally have this giant bottle of seltzer because I'm so hot. So let's go ahead and set, I'm gonna do both of my under eyes but only half my face. I'm gonna use the Dermablend Blue Setting Powder, which is just classic, very translucent, and I'm just familiar with how it sits and wears on the face. So I think we're gonna do this side of my face with the powder. Just gonna do a little bit and then we'll finish the rest. Let me set this under eye. If this wears well without powder, I would be so shocked because it's so thin. That'd be awesome. I don't really have any foundations that I feel like wear well on me without powder. I'm just always like a powder person. All right, so I'm just doing my under eye and my lid, and then we'll leave this unset. So this is definitely like a lighter coverage look, so I don't want to do anything like too glam. I'm just gonna use this Han bronzer in Ibiza. It is pretty warm, but I have like a slight tan going on. Oh, okay, I almost forgot, but I have to set this right side of my face with powder. Just using the same Dermablend one. Also, as you can tell, it doesn't really like cover up like if you have pimples or anything. I usually do separate coverage for those using powder foundation. So it's definitely not like super full coverage. Obviously, it's a skin tint. And anyway, going in with that Han bronzer, has a little bit of a shimmer in it. If the Credo sale is still going on when I post this, this was in my favorites video. I said the Malibu shade. I do like this one as well. I think Malibu's my favorite if you want a matte one, and these are definitely on the more affordable side, especially if you get them during the 20% off Credo sale. This is like my favorite bronzer brush of all time, the Luxie 514. It's for blush, but I feel like it makes a really good bronzer applicator brush, you know. So it has like slightly settled into this smile line, the unset side. So we will see if that gets worse or it sort of maintains the same thing throughout the day. For blush, I'm going to use some of this 100% pure fruit pigmented blush. This one's the shade Chiffon, which is like a really pretty bright pink. And you know me and my love for like cool pink blushes. I'm trying not to use the RMS Beauty blush in every single video. You already know I'm like fully obsessed with that. I just did my brows with the Thrive brow pencil. Pretty boring, so I'll probably cut it out. I have been using the NYX Lift and Snatch brow tint pen, which I didn't really like initially, but I have been liking this now just to like do little hairs sort of like in the front of my brows. I definitely can't just use this on its own, like I need it with a pencil. It's really nice to add like little detail. For eyes, I've been really liking these Make like shadow sticks for like, they're sort of like contours for your eyes. They're really interesting. I use these in my Make versus Merit video. This is the shade Shore, by the way, which is sort of like a warm, muted color. And then I just like to go in with sort of like a thicker buffing brush and buff this in. These last such a long time, by the way. They're like really good, either eyeshadow bases or just to wear on their own, especially for summer. Like they last way longer than actual powder shadows on me, which is really cool. So then I take Altitude, which is more of a cool color, and then I do Closer to my crease, and then this dark brown, which is Latitude. These are so pigmented, by the way. I always end up putting like too much on, but I sort of do this on my lash line and then make it into that like winged shape. I hope they come out with like shimmery versions of these. That would be really cool. And then just to sort of brighten everything up, I'm gonna use the ColourPop Tassel Super Shock. This is more makeup than I ever really work out in, but I still want to do like a look. And then I'm just going to take a little bit of this matte white just to highlight the brow bone and the inner corner. I'm definitely looking like pretty oily right here because I'm already sweating, and this is the unset side. So we will see. Hopefully that doesn't continue to like wear down or break up. Just setting my brows now. This is the Miko brow gel, and then I'm going to do a little bit of my Maybelline Sky High mascara, per usual in brown. Okay, so now let's do a little try on of these Naturium, I don't know if that's how you say it. These are the Phyto-Glow lip balms. They have 4 very summery shades here. I'm excited to try on. I'm gonna do a little bit of the ColourPop Cool BFF lip liner. I'm gonna try on these two first because I feel like they're probably gonna be the most unflattering because they're pretty warm, but you never know. So this first one is Spritz. This packaging is so cool, by the way. So this one is like a sheer orange. It's actually not the worst on me because they're so sheer. Definitely not my favorite though, especially with this like cool toned eye look. Next we have Goji, which looks like a really pretty like hot pink. These are such nice formulas. They're really like thick and balmy, which I love because they actually stay on your lips, but I love that they're tinted. This is the color Goji. It's a little more pink than that last shade. Now on to these last two, which will probably be my favorite. Let's do this hibiscus one, which looks like a really like hot purple pink. Ooh, yeah, this shade is super pretty. Definitely a lot more flattering on me. And then our final shade here is Plum, which is a plum shade. This one's super pretty as well. Let me know out of all four of these which one was your favorite. I think this brighter pink one, Hibiscus, is actually my favorite. I'm actually going to do a little bit of this lipstick. This is by Beauty Kappa, which they don't sell, but I think you could still go to their lip bar and maybe get a shade like this, which is just a really pretty muted purple, and then I'm going to put this on top of it. Oh yeah, love that. This is like going in my bag immediately. Alright, so let me hit you with all of the close-ups. I was going to do like powder foundation on my blemishes, by the way, but I just don't want to interfere with the foundation. I just want to test it how it is. So by the way, this is the unset side. If you want like a reminder in the close-ups, nose ring is the unset side, visibly glowier, and then this is the set side, the right side of my face. So I'll be giving you close-ups. I'll do one here in studio light, and then I'll also do one in natural light so you can really see the texture and everything. I personally do really like how this looks. I definitely like it more set down. It's just like a little bit too glowy for me unset, but it feels so lightweight. It basically doesn't feel like I'm really wearing foundation at all. It is a skin tint, so like that's what I would kind of expect from it. I do really like that it has more coverage than like your usual skin tint, and it's not super dewy either. That's why I think it's like really unique. It's kind of just like a really thin light coverage foundation in my opinion. So it is now 2:30. I will do my workout. I'll show you an update after the workout, and then I'll also show you an update at the end of the day and how this is wearing. Hopefully it wears really well and I can have a good foundation from the drugstore to recommend to you. Fingers crossed, hopefully. But yeah, I'll see you then. Okay, so it's after my workout now. I did work out and then ate, so it's been a little while since I worked out, but I was sweating a lot, but I give it time to like, you know, evaporate and everything. I did not like blot my face or anything. So this is what it looks like. Honestly, it looks pretty much the same. I'm like surprised that it didn't like wear off really. This side is definitely looking like just a little bit heavy in my nose area and my smile line, the unset side, but this set side like basically looks exactly the same. So there hasn't been really anything like any big difference in the wear yet. So I want to do this in natural light to give you what it looks like in natural light, and then also an update of after the workout. Held up really well. So in terms of the like sweat resistant claims, it's actually pretty true. I find as long as you use a nice like thin amount of it. I have worn this other times and like layered it up, and especially like around my mouth it can start to just look a little bit heavy, especially since it has that pearlescence through it. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. But I am happy with the coverage and how it's looking so far, and hopefully it continues to wear well. End of the night now. It's 10:48, almost 11. So I have had this on for quite some time. Definitely not 24 hours. I don't think most people wear their makeup that long, but again, to remind you, this was the non-powdered side, and then this here is the powdered side. As you can tell, the powdered side is definitely way better on my skin. This, especially next to my nose and just in that smile line, is very, it's getting greasy. Definitely more greasy than I would like it. But overall, I feel like this actually wears very well for something that looks so radiant and glowy on the skin. I will say it's definitely sinking into my smile lines here, the unset side, and also a little bit. I actually just noticed that it sort of bunches up. I've noticed this like the past week that I've been trying it. So it's bunched up in my smile line here, and then also sort of where my chin is. And I've tried a couple different powders, and I don't know if I just haven't tried the right, and I just don't know if I haven't tried the right powder with it or something, but I just keep getting that like I guess you would just call that cakiness, like it's sort of sliding around on my face. But other than that, it does look really good, like on my nose, on my forehead. Nothing is really like worn off, and the coverage stays put very well. So it's definitely not like the best wearing foundation I've ever seen. The 24-hour claim is definitely pretty, I feel like, outlandish for this. Like, I would not want to continue sort of wearing this past the point. You could definitely do a touch up and make this sort of look better for longer wear. But I would say for a drugstore option that's very radiant, it's very lightweight feeling, like I didn't really feel like I had makeup on the whole day. And for it to be like relatively long lasting for the glow that it provides, it's a pretty good drugstore option. As long as you have, I would say, like normal combo or dry skin. If you're like on the more oily side of combo, you might want to avoid it. But as you can tell, like powder really does help with my sort of combo skin that I have, but it's the summer, so I'm pretty much just oily at this point. I really wanted to like super love this so much that it would become like an all-time favorite. But unfortunately, it just does have that bunching and like sort of cakiness to it. And as you saw in the application, I used such a small amount, which is pretty surprising that this sort of does this. I would definitely still reach for this just because like it looks pretty good for quite a long time before it starts to break down, and I do really love the finish of it as well. So this might be like a nice option for like something to throw on quick that you're not going to wear a super long time. Maybe if you have dry skin, this would look really good on you, and maybe not do like the bunching like it does on my skin, because maybe that's because, you know, my oils are breaking through and like mixing with the foundation. But yeah, I would say I'm like pretty so-so on that foundation. It's really good. It's not horrible, but it's definitely not like the best foundation in terms of wear that I've tried. But I do think that it's really unique in its thin consistency and the glow that it has. I haven't tried any other drugstore serum foundations or skin tints, I don't believe, recently. If you have any recommendations, definitely let me know. Maybe we'll do like a comparison if you want to see any specific comparisons. Of course, let me know those below as well. But yeah, oh, I also want to comment that the shade is pretty good. It can be really hard for me to find a shade that like looks relatively good on me, and this one was pretty nice. This was 110, which is their fair shade with warm undertones. But yeah, I think that was the full update. Hopefully you got all the info you need to make your buying decision. It is relatively inexpensive, so if you wanted to give it a shot, I would recommend it under the pretenses that I mentioned before. But thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you did enjoy it, so I know that I should make more foundation reviews. Make sure you're subscribed just in case my content doesn't pop up on your feed. Also hit that notification bell so you never miss my next video. But thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.